by Barbra O'Connor. I'm super excited to get to read for you today. Chapter 12 is kind of long, so I got my coffee. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Chapter 12. Me and Howard waited and waited, but Wishbone never showed up. Gus had come outside a couple of times and sat with us, chewing on a toothpick and stroking the scrawny black cat curled up in his lap. Every now and then, Bertha would stick her head out of the front door and call out, "Catch him yet?" We'd put our fingers up and shush her, and then she'd slap her hand over her mouth and go, "Oops, sorry." When the sun began to disappear behind the mountains and the lightning bugs twinkled out in the garden, Gus stood up in that slow way of his and said, "Want me to drive you home, Howard?" "No, sir," Howard said. "I'm gonna walk." I wondered if Gus was thinking what I was, that it was liable to take him all night to get home with that up-down walk of his, but Gus just stretched and said, "All righty then," and ambled off towards the house. "See ya," Howard said, and headed up the driveway toward the road. I sat there by the trap and looked over at Gus and Bertha's little house nestled on the side of the mountain. How come Bertha hadn't told me Mama had been there? Had Mama liked it there? Had she picked pole beans out in the garden with Gus? Had she helped Bertha make bread and butter pickles? Had she sat on the porch at night gazing up at Pegasus? Had she slept in that room with those same canning jars? Finally, I got up and went inside. I looked around the living room at Gus's old easy chair and the dusty table covered with magazines and coffee cups and the TV with a bowl of plastic fruit on top. Had Mama sat in that chair? Propped her feet on that table while she watched soap operas on the TV? I could hear Gus and Bertha out on the porch talking. Every now and then, Bertha's laughter danced through the screen door. Finally, I went out there and sat in the lawn chair next to them. Light from the kitchen sent a soft glow over the porch. I took a deep breath and said, "So, Mama came here one time, right?" The two of them looked at each other, and Gus cleared his throat and shifted in his seat. Bertha reached over and put her hand on my arm. "Yes, she did," she said. "Oh." I watched one of the cats swatting a moth that was flitting around the porch. "When?" "A long time ago," Bertha said. "But when?" "When you were just a baby," she said, "so I came too." From somewhere down in the woods, a bullfrog croaked, sending an echo across the mountains. Below us, crickets chirped in the tangled weeds under the porch. Bertha gave me a sad-eyed look. "No," she said, "you didn't come." "Well, what about Jackie?" I said. "Did she come?" "No, Jackie didn't come either." "But where were me and Jackie?" I asked. "And Scrappy, what about him?" Bertha leaned over closer to me. She smelled like talcum powder. "Charlie," she said, "your Mama came here and left you and Jackie and Scrappy behind. Showed up on my doorstep in the middle of the night with a garbage bag full of clothes." "Did she just come to visit?" I asked. But in my heart, I knew the answer to that question. "No, Charlie," Bertha said, "she just up and left y'all without even looking back." Bertha's voice suddenly had an edge to it, sharp and angry sounding. I would have never guessed Bertha could sound like that. "Oh," I said. Bertha continued with her voice getting sharper and angrier. When I asked her what in the world she was doing running off like that, she looked me right in the eyes and said, "I'm tired of my old life. I'm starting a new one." A flash of heat lightning lit up the sky over the mountains. There was a low rumble of thunder. "Then what happened?" I asked. Bertha let out a sigh. "Her new life didn't last too long." "Well, how long?" Just a couple of months." "Well, what happened?" I told her what I thought about her new life, and I reckon she didn't like it. She didn't want to hear what I thought about a mama who stood up and left her children behind. She stormed out of here like a freight train and hightailed it back to her old life, and I haven't seen her since. Another rumble of thunder echoes across the valley below us. "I tried to call, but she wouldn't talk to me," Bertha said. "I sent you and Jackie cards and gifts, but she sent them right back. After a while, I just gave up." She patted my knee. "I'm sorry I have to tell you these things, Charlie." I shrugged like it was no big deal, but my quivering chin must have given me away. Bertha knelt in front of me and took both my hands in hers and said, "Your Mama loves you very much, Charlie. but sometimes she just loses her way. Loses her way? I'd be happy to draw her a map to show her the way to being my mama again. I stared out into the dark woods below us and sent my laser thought zipping through the trees and over the creek and down the streets of town to wherever Wishbone was. I wanted him to know how much I needed him and what a great life he would have with me. And I didn't even care one bit if Mama had a hissy fit about him. I wonder if Wishbone will come get that food in the trap tonight, I said. He'd be a darn fool if he didn't, Gus said, and something tells me that dog is no fool, Butterbean. This time, when he called me Butterbean instead of feeling like a baby, I felt a tiny smile tugging at the corners of my mouth, even though my insides were twisted up knowing that my mama had just up and left me like that. Then I said good night and went back to my room. I sat by the window and watched the heat lightning. Where was Wishbone? Chasing somebody's chickens? Fighting with that little black dog again down by the trailers? Or maybe he was out there in that trap this very minute eating tuna and noodle casserole. I climbed into bed and thought about Mama. What was her new life supposed to be? Was she going to stay in Colby forever? Was she going to be a school teacher or a librarian or maybe even own a beauty parlor down here on Mountain Road? Was she going to find a new husband who she didn't fight with so much? Was she going to have kids and give them cake with pink and purple flowers when they got home from school? But what was the use of thinking about that? She had gone back to her old life. And there she is, and here I am. With my family all broken and scattered every which way. Outside, the rain had started slow and soft at first, then faster and louder. The wind picked up and blew cool and damp through the screen. Suddenly, I sat up, my heart pounding. I hadn't made my wish today. My mind raced, thinking about my list of things to wish on. Too late for stars, no ladybugs in here, no four-leaf clovers, or pennies or dandelions. And then I couldn't believe what happened next. From far off in the trees outside the window came the song of a mockingbird. Hearing a bird song in the rain is on my list of things to make a wish on. So I closed my eyes and I made a wish. All right, friends, that wraps up chapter 12 of Wish by Barbara O'Connor. My question today is, Gus calls Charlie Butterbean, and at first it made her feel like a baby, but now she's starting to kind of like it. Do you have a name that a parent calls you other than your own name that makes you feel special, like a nickname? All right, friends, that's it for today. Stay kind, stay patient. Please practice social distancing because it is so important, and I want to see you sooner rather than later. Bye, guys. I'll see you next time.